lot of discussion in the past 24 hours because the big news is today, May 13th, 2021, the announcement came out that the FDA has approved the emergency use authorization of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. The CDC has said, yes, it should be given. The AAP, the American Academy of Pediatrics, has said, yes, it can be given to that age group, supports the recommendations from everyone else. The American ACIP, American College Council Immunization Practices, one of those, has said appropriate to give to this age group. And so a lot of people have been asking, like, what do we do now? Where can we get our dose? Should we get our dose? Should this be something that we do for our family? So I just wanted to talk briefly about that because I've heard from a lot of families that have questions, is it safe? Is it effective? Is it necessary? And so I kind of just wanted to talk through those today. And there's a few nuances that I wanted to share that are specific to this age group as we go along. In terms of safety, it appears to be safe. What they did is they gave this vaccine in the study they had a study sample size of about 2,200 teens, and they gave half the Pfizer vaccine under the normal timetable that adults get it, and then they gave half placebo, and they looked, is there a difference? In terms of safety, the side effect profile was similar to adults in that a small percentage get fever, muscle ache, feeling down and tired for a day or two, and then, back to normal. Most had some arm pain or something along those lines. There weren't any major side effects that were seen in this sample size. And of course, this is a smaller sample size, but what we know is that we have a large sample size of adults in the hundreds of millions that have now gotten it, those vaccines, and there's been a very similar safety profile across the board, no signals of anything else in the short term or in the long term happening with that. A question that I have is, well, how do you know it's going to happen in the long term? Well, if we look at other vaccines, the products that are given in the vaccine are rapidly degraded. The mRNA is a very sensitive molecule that gets rapidly degraded. And so there isn't the expectation that you're going to have long-term side effects. It doesn't get encoded into your DNA or anything along those lines. What it does is it simulates the immune system. The immune system creates the antibodies. The antibodies then are there to protect from ongoing vaccine or infection risk. And when they spot COVID, they ramp up, destroy COVID through antibody-mediated, T-cell-mediated, blah, 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 processes to prevent you from getting the infection. And so safety profile, similar to adults. And in adults, we have a large sample size. We don't have the same sample size, of course, yet in teenagers, but we have a large sample size of adults, and it has been shown to be safe, and there haven't been signals of anything else in the mRNA ones in particular. Effectiveness. Is this vaccine effective in this age group? Well, what they did is they gave the vaccine to the group, they gave the placebo to the other group, and they looked how many people got infections. And what they found was that in the group that got the placebo, 19 cases of COVID during the test period. In the group that got the vaccine, 0 cases, which is where they get that 100% effective number. That sounds too good to be true. And it probably is too good to be true when we extrapolate to the entire teen population. There will still, I'm sure, be some teens, just like there are a small portion of adults that get the COVID vaccine and still get COVID. There will probably be that, but in the sample size, it was 100% because 19 in the control placebo group and then 0 infections in the studied group that got the vaccine. So safe appears, yes. Effective, yes. Necessary, that's where a little bit of the nuance comes in. And I do think that it is going to help to end the pandemic to get everybody vaccinated, including the lower age groups, because we know that 12 to 15-year-olds spread COVID from kid to kid. They spread it from sibling to younger child. They spread it from the teenager to adults that they come into contact with. So it is possible to spread it. Hopefully the adults have chosen to get vaccinated or to stay away. Hopefully the elderly that they're around have chosen to get vaccinated or stay away or wear masks or those sort of things and made that decision for themselves. And so the likelihood of a significant high-risk spread is low. We also know that from a risk standpoint for kids, the risk of severe COVID, ending up in the hospital, ending up in the ICU, dying from COVID is very, very small. And so that is another thing that comes into play, in my opinion, about the necessity of the vaccine in this age group. I do think it's necessary if, this is the caveat right here, If you and your child talk about it and decide that it is right for you and your family at this time, I do not think that you need to force the issue. I do not think you need to say, I don't care, teenager, 12-year-old, I know I give you full access to Instagram and Snapchat, and you brush your teeth on your own, and I put you in charge of doing your homework on your own, and I let you make all these choices about your life and the things that you do and the food that you eat and all those sort of things, but I don't care what you think, you're getting the vaccine. Well, I don't even think that teens like to be told what to, where to school, or, when to do their homework or things like that. So if you're going to tell a teenager you have no choice in this matter about getting something injected into your body, and not only that, but there's the entire past 14 months of the political ramifications, the social ramifications, the economic ramifications, there's a lot of baggage wrapped up in getting this vaccine for adults and for teenagers. And so I think, and I would advocate for a discussion rather than saying you have to get this vaccine. You have no choice. I signed you up for tomorrow. You're getting the vaccine. That's it. Well, it's not such an emergency that we can't sit down and have a dialogue about it and come to a decision together. And it might not be the decision that you want right away, but that's okay. It's more important to say, hey, teenager, I know that this past year has been really challenging for you, like it has been for me, and I bet there's things that have been challenging for you that weren't challenging for me about it, because you're in high school and you have all these social connections and you have all these things that you've had to do and change and not do that you used to be able to do. So what do you think about getting the vaccine? It looks like it's safe. The reports are that shows that it's safe and that it's effective. What do you think? And every teenager that I've talked to, and the parents of teenagers that I've talked to, have said their teen was enthusiastic or signed up on their own or something along those lines. But I think it's a conversation to have rather than just you're getting the vaccine, whether you like it or not. I know that we want to do the right thing for our child. We want to do the right thing for public health and for our community. But I think that the risk is low enough for teenagers. This is an emergency use authorization vaccine, that it's a discussion that we have together with our teenager and say, hey, I want to know and understand how you're feeling. Here's how I think and feel about it. What do you think? So then you can listen to them. You can discuss it. You can listen to them again, and then you can decide. And the decision might be, well, it doesn't sound like you're totally comfortable and on board with it, so let's talk about it again in a week. This is not an emergency thing. We're returning to normal here in the United States. We're getting back to activities and sports and gatherings, and everyone's fine with wearing masks indoors if they need to, and then being able to go outside and not wear masks. That if somebody says, I'm not quite ready, we should respect and honor their opinion, whether or not they're 12 or 25 or 36 or 64 or however old they are, because people have a right to autonomy. Teenagers have a right to autonomy. And if you want to engage in the discussion with your teenager and hope to win over their hearts and minds, if you feel like they should get it, then probably the best place to start would be with showing them that you hear them, that you listen, that you understand where they're coming from, and that we'll continue the discussion rather than I already signed you up and you're getting the dose and it doesn't matter. That would be my opinion. That's only my opinion. It doesn't represent everyone else's opinions that I'm associated with or anything like that. But I do think it's an important vaccine. It is safe, it's effective, and I would recommend it. And when parents ask me, should we get it for our child? I'd say, yes, assuming that you and your child are on board with getting it, then yeah, go for it, get it. It'll return things to normal for your family and for our community and for our country and for our world faster, and it's worth it. But have that discussion. Be willing to have them say, I'm not quite sure, or I'm not quite ready, and then think about how you're going to respond to that too. All of the people that I've kind of broached the subject with have agreed, and I've shared things on Instagram and other Facebook and places like that, and the overwhelming response has been, yeah, let's have this discussion, or my teenager already told me they want it and they can't wait to sign up, and they can't wait to do their vaccine selfie because they've seen what it's been like for the past year. So hopefully that makes sense. I would love it if you would comment, if you agree or if you disagree. I would love it if you would share it, if you think it's an important message that others hear. And I am just super excited that we're moving closer and closer to normal literally every day. I want to ask you to think about all the other people in the world that are not and won't for a long time, and have gratitude and patience as we go through this. Keep up the good work.